Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I hope you all are doing well. I am doing very well, and I'm super glad to be back to filming videos for the channel. And today marks the halfway point through 2026. It is July 1st as I'm recording this today. And I have some updates, actually a lot of updates to my goals. So let's talk about it. So if you saw my video back in January where I had all my goals for my 5 languages, and there was a lot of them, and I should not have done that looking back. I definitely should have had less goals for each language, but I feel like the New Year's resolution time of year gets to all of us, and we think we can do a whole lot more than we actually can. But I am sticking with studying all 5 of my languages, and I'll talk a little bit about how that's went so far in the year. But I will be still studying all 5 of my languages, but I have really changed my approach and changed the way I'm measuring my goals towards my languages. So let's talk about how the first 6 months of the year went. So I feel like I really kept up well with my Korean, Turkish, and Spanish all throughout the year. Like, I've been studying steadily for all 3 of those, and that makes sense because those were already well integrated into my life. Like, I had already been taking lessons in those languages prior to the beginning of 2026. So I've kept up with my italki lessons and everything, and I've been studying those. Nothing really new there. And then I set out to learn Thai and German this year. Now, I'm coming back to German. I had studied it for a short time in the past, and I wanted to come back to it because it is a language that has always been a little bit of interest to me. I've never been like super duper enthusiastic about German, which is why I think I did not keep up with studying it well this year. I have done like a few lessons here and there. I'll drop it for a long time and then try to come back into lessons again. So German has not been going that well, but I'm not upset about that. It happens. Now, Thai, I did not have time at the beginning of this year. For like January, February, March, I did very little in Thai. And then April came around and I really picked Thai back up again, and I've really been enjoying studying Thai, and I've been studying Thai a lot in the last like 3 months. So April, May, and June, I've been studying Thai quite a bit. So that's how the first 6 months of the year went. So let's talk about what I'm planning to do in the next 6 months of the year. If you saw my goals video in January, you know I set a whole lot of goals for all of my languages. And I knew when I set those goals that I was being pretty ambitious with those goals, but I don't think I realized that I just did not have time to do all of those things, and it kind of ended up stressing me out that I had all of these goals, and like really specific goals, like doing a certain, like things with a certain textbook or a certain course, and getting to a certain point in those actually was more stressful than it was helpful, and goals are supposed to be helpful. So that's why we're changing the goals that I have to something else, and that something else involves time tracking, which is a new thing for me. I've been time tracking my language stuff and some of my other hobbies as well. I've been doing time tracking since April was when I started checking out time tracking. I saw an old video from Lindy Buetes, and she talked about an app that she was using to time track. I think it's called Toggl. I've been using this thing for 3 months. I should know what it's called. I think it's called Toggl. Anyways, I will put something here about the app so you can find it and use it. But it has been really helpful. And I never thought I was like a time tracking kind of person. I had tried time tracking in the past, but I didn't know about this app, so it was a lot harder to time track back then. But now with this app, I'm really enjoying it. It gives you like a little pie chart and everything, which is super fun. I've been playing around with time tracking since about April of this year, and I think I finally got it figured out exactly how I want to use the time tracking app, and we'll talk about that in a second. But my goals have changed from finish this resource or take this test or, those kind of things where they're tied to I need to use this specific resource and study in this specific way to meet this goal, where really my goal is just to get better at these languages, which is super vague, so I need something a little more concrete to make my goals around, which is why I chose to make goals based on the resources I was using at the time. But it actually ended up being a lot more demotivating than motivating to me. And I've found lately with the time tracking that I've been really motivated to study, because it doesn't really matter what I do. I can do anything in my target languages, and I still get to count that in the app, and it makes the number go up, and it makes the little sliver on the pie chart get bigger for that language, and that's super fun to me. That's super motivating to me. So I decided to set time goals for my languages and not specify any resource. Now, these time goals are for active study only. I'm going to track active study and passive learning separately. That's the only two categories I'm going to make for each language, so I can track things under, Thai, active study, Thai, passive learning, Spanish, active study, Spanish, passive learning. But my time goals for the rest of the year are going to be just based on active study, because I feel like active study makes the most difference in my language learning, but passive study is also super important for getting everything to stick, basically. To hear those words that you've been studying in your active study time, hearing them over and over and getting them to stay in your brain. So both are important, but I feel like it's more valuable to me personally to just make goals based on the active study time. And also I will be probably doing a lot more passive study time, and I don't really know how to make goals for that because it's just doing the stuff that I enjoy doing. So like listening to podcasts, watching YouTube videos, watching TV shows in my target languages, and I don't really want to put a goal on that because that's things I do just to relax and enjoy the language, and I don't want to feel like I have to meet a certain quantity of time, if that makes sense. So these goals are just for active study and active study only. With that being said, let's talk about what my goals are. Now, I started out this year and I said 100% Korean is going to be my number one language, probably for the whole year, and that's the one I'm going to put the most time into. And I really didn't think that was ever going to change. I didn't think that anything could take the number one spot in my mind from Korean, because I love Korean and I love studying Korean. However, as I have gotten into studying Thai, I am so in love with the Thai language and I just want to study it all the time. So yeah, I did not expect that to happen at all, but Thai is definitely going to be the priority language for the rest of the year. I'm super excited about it, but I also don't want to lose my progress in my other languages. Obviously, I'm still going to study those, but I'm going to be spending a lot of time studying Thai. So my goal that I've made, my weekly goal that I've made for Thai is to study 5 hours each week in Thai. And I'm going to count that there's 25 weeks left in the year. I know that there's 26 from today, but the week of Christmas is just, it's very unlikely that I will get much of anything other than Christmas done the week of Christmas. So we don't count that. So 25 weeks left in the year, and so everything, I'm going to be trying to multiply everything by 25 and give you like the rest of the year total. So 5 times 25, 125. 125 hours of Thai, of active study from now until January 1st of 2027. That is a weird number. Oh my goodness, are we really halfway through 2026 now? I guess so. Oh my goodness. Okay, anyways, so that's my biggest goal, and I know that might seem like a really small number of hours to study a language in a week. I don't know. Tell me what you all think. How much do you all study your priority language, and how many languages are you studying, and like what else do you do? How many hobbies do you have? Because I have a lot. The next one is Korean. I feel like you could have seen this coming. Korean is still very important to me. I still love Korean very much, and I do want to put a little bit more time into Korean than the other languages because Korean is really hard, and I am afraid that if I spend too little time on Korean for the remainder of the year, that I will go backwards in Korean. I will forget stuff instead of moving forward. And the goal is to still be moving forward, even if it's just a little bit at a time, in all the rest of my languages. I feel like 2 hours a week of Korean is enough to make sure that I'm at the very least not going backwards. So that would make it 50 hours of Korean for the remainder of the year. Now, for Turkish and Spanish, I will just be doing 1 hour of active study each week. I feel like that's enough to maintain and maybe make some slow progress in both of those languages, especially for Spanish, because my Spanish level is the highest level out of any of my languages. So I do a lot of passive practice. Like, I watch YouTube videos in Spanish all the time. So just having an hour of active study a week, I feel like is going to be totally fine for Spanish. I'm hoping it'll be enough for Turkish. My level of Turkish is quite a bit lower, and I really hope I don't lose ground in Turkish, but if I need to, I can adjust my goals as we go along and put more time aside for Turkish, but I think an hour a week of active study is going to be okay. So we'll see. So for both of those, it'll be 25 hours of active study of Turkish and 25 hours of active study of Spanish for the rest of the year. And then finally we have German. German, I'm just gonna put my goal as 30 minutes of active study a week. I feel like these time-related goals are going to be a lot more motivating to me because I've been very motivated just by the fact that I'm time tracking at all. I haven't set any goals prior to right now based on time, but it's been very motivating to get to enter everything into the time tracker app and see the number of hours for the month or for the year go up. And now let's talk about my other goals for my other hobbies. And this is what I'm super excited about. And if you thought that my number of hours for my languages was super low for each week, which I don't know, what do you all think? I feel like 5 hours for Thai definitely is a very decent goal. I feel like 2 hours for Korean is a normal goal. But I don't know, what do you all think? Do you think that 1 hour for Spanish and Turkish and 30 minutes a week for German is too little? What do you all do? I'm very curious, honestly. But if you think about that, with 5 languages, that is quite a lot of time actually out of my week, even though other than Thai, the rest of my languages are not really getting that much time during the week. But the 5 hours for Thai plus 2 hours for Korean, that's 7. And then Spanish, Turkish, that's another 2 hours. And then a half hour for German. So that's 9.5 hours, if I did my math right. Yeah, that's 9.5 hours for all 5 of my languages. So that's a pretty significant amount of time each week to just be dedicating to languages. And if I was only focused on languages, I could dedicate more time to it. But I have other hobbies, and I feel like my other hobbies have really been neglected for a long time. I've been very focused on languages for several years now. So in my January video, I had talked a little bit about how I wanted to get back to figure skating, but I didn't really go into very much detail. So I started skating as an adult. I think I was 19. I think that's right. Yeah. I was 19 when I started, and I skated for 3 years, and that seems like... I don't know if I'm going to post videos on here of me skating because I don't really want my skating to be judged, because that is my happy place. The rink is where I feel the most at peace in life, and I don't really want my skills in skating to be judged by other people, because it's just my happy place. And I don't want my happy place to be ruined by people judging my ability to do things on the ice. But I will say, you might think that I'm a lot better than I actually am based on the fact that I skated for 3 years prior to taking a break from it. But I was only, at the very beginning, I was taking lessons 3 times a week, which was insane because I live so far from the rink, and I was actually insane for trying to go to the rink that much because it is so far away. And it's also expensive to ice skate. And after that, after a little while, I figured out that that was too much, and I just started going once a week, which is doable. It's realistic. It still takes a lot of hours to get there and skate and get back home because the rink is so far away. But it's not totally insane to just go once a week. So I've only been going skating, or while I was skating for those 3 years, I was mostly only going once a week. So progress was very slow. Just to give you an idea of where I'm at, I can do... For jumps, I can do a waltz jump, a Salchow, a toe loop. I'm working on my loop and flip right now. So yeah, that's what I can do. And then for spins, I can do a really basic upright spin. Just the standard old 1 foot spin. And that actually took me a really long time to be able to do that. I struggled a lot with just the 1 foot spin. But now I'm actually working on a sit spin, which is a lot of fun, and I'm really enjoying it. I'm very bad at it, but I'm enjoying it. And I've also done some of the ice dance stuff. I've passed 4 of the ice dance tests, and I'm really excited to get back to doing the test. I find those really fun because it's like a big milestone that you get your little paper, I passed, and it's fun. So anyways, I have some figure skating related goals, like passing those next tests and getting my sit spin, getting my loop and my flip jumps. So yeah, I'm not really focused on like any long-term goals for skating. I just focus on what is the next thing that I need to learn, and that's my goal for now. So right now, like I said, I'm working on my loop jump and my flip jump, and for spins, I'm working on my sit spin. It does take a long time to get good at each of those things that I'm working on because I only skate once a week. I only have lessons with my coach once a week, and that's all the time that I have in my week to practice anything. I do try to do some off-ice practice, but the time actually on the ice is very important too, and I have a very limited amount of that, and that's just how it is. So I got back to skating, I think it was in February of this year, so February, March, April, May, June. I've been back for 5 months. I feel like I am back to where I was before I took a 2-year break from it, and that now I am moving forward into other skills that I had not worked on previously, which is super exciting. Okay, last, and I don't think I talked about this at all in my January video, but last is my music related goal. Now, I play a bunch of instruments. I play a bunch of instruments poorly, but I play a couple of instruments pretty well. I'm pretty decent at piano, and I'm pretty good at saxophone, I would say. I played saxophone for 3.5 years in high school, and before that I played trumpet in middle school. So I played trumpet for 3.5 years, and then I played saxophone for 3.5 years in high school. I played alto for 1.5 years, and then I played, or actually it was more like 2 years, I guess, on alto, and then I played tenor sax in concert band 1 year, and then my senior year I played bari sax. And I'm super sad to not have a bari sax at home because I really love the bari, but I do have an alto and a tenor. And I've decided to really work on my saxophone skills, and I've chosen to work on tenor sax over alto. I just really prefer the sound of the tenor over the alto. So I'm going to be practicing my tenor sax a lot. I have set my weekly goal as 10 hours of practice. I would like to surpass that, but I have had to be really mindful with these goals to not do what I did in January and set really, really ambitious goals that would take literally all of my time to complete. So I had to think about how much time do I actually have when I go back to work in August, because I work at a school, so I'm not working right now. It's summer break. But when I go back to work in August, I have to think about how many hours I actually have in the week. And I can't forget that, yes, it takes time to wake up in the morning. I need at least 30 minutes to function in the morning. I am a morning person, but I feel like even morning people, you gotta wake up. You can't just jump right into doing stuff first thing in the morning. So I need at least a half hour to drink some water, have my coffee, eat breakfast, and get my day started before I do anything productive. And then I have to have some time to wind down in the evening. I can't just do stuff all the way until I fall in bed, right? That's why I set my goal for saxophone as 10 hours a week. I feel like I could do more than that. I want to do more than that, but I'm not sure how realistic that is. I feel like, so total, with the 9.5 hours for languages and the 10 hours for saxophone, that's 19.5 hours. And then, of course, it takes quite a few hours to skate each week. So that's a pretty big amount of time in the week. And I don't feel like I want to make goals that would require me to use any more time than that, because I do need time to rest also. So anyways, for saxophone, that makes it 250 hours. That's my goal for the rest of the year. And yeah, I guess that's it. Thanks for watching. If you're still watching the video at this point, thanks. I feel like this video is going to be really long. So yeah, thank you so much if you're still watching the video now. And I will see you in the next video. Bye.